This is the story of how a flat tire led to an unexpected guitar sound, which ended up changing the world. It's the early 50s, and a young blues musician named B.B. King is getting his start in a recording studio in Memphis, Tennessee. Now, the owner and operator there, Sam Phillips, was always on the hunt for new talent, to which B.B. recommended the up-and-coming Jackie Brenston and his Delta Cats. Sam gets in contact with them, they make arrangements to cut a single, and Jackie and the band start making their way north up Highway 61 from Mississippi to Memphis when the tire that changed the world popped. It's an unfortunate situation, but I'm sure they didn't think all that much of it. The car pulls over, and as one of the bandmates is rummaging through the trunk trying to find the tire jack, he accidentally knocks the guitar player Willie Kizart's amp to the ground. Now, if you've ever dealt with a guitar amp, you'll know that they're heavy, they're fragile, and they don't do that well when they fall from any height. This is no exception. Their amplifier speaker is damaged, and without much they could do about it, they fix the tire and make their way to the studio. And when they finally get to Memphis, they set up in the studio, start getting some sounds, and they realize that this amp, it's a total mess. The speaker has a massive hole in it, and in an attempt to fix it, they stuff it full of newspaper, sackcloth, and whatever else is lying around. And lo and behold, it's still a mess. With all this junk in it, it sounds even more rough, buzzy, and ugly. But there's this amazing thing in music that periodically happens. Happy accidents, serendipity. Someone steps in and says, you know what, this is not going as planned, but fuck it, let's go with it. And that man was standing right there. The producer, Sam Phillips, was the kind of guy who would embrace things that his contemporaries would turn their nose to. I mean, just the fact that a white man in the South in 1951 is actively seeking out and recording black music encompasses that. And every industry has these kind of remarkable characters, the upsetters, the pioneers, these trailblazers. And instead of trying to find an amp that works, Sam says, I've never heard anything like this, but we're going with it. And what you're about to hear is what was recorded. Now, the music that we're talking about today makes up the DNA of so much that we do on guitar, and I teach this style in my course, Blues, Rhythm, and Soloing Techniques. These are a number of lessons from the Samurai Guitar Dojo, and this is your last chance to pick this up for a one-time purchase of only $7 when you use the link in the description. In these lessons, we break down the blues progression, we build on it, we look at blue notes, double stops, how to outline the chord changes. This stuff is so important because to understand the guitar, you need to understand the roots of it, and the roots of the blues. I've structured these lessons so that you can quickly add new skills, discover new things in an easy to digest way. The people who have taken this course have had great feedback. I'd love to see you over there. Promo's about to wrap up. Use the link in the description for your last chance to get this course for only $7. Anyways, let's get back to it. So the song that Jackie Brenston and his Delta Cats recorded that fateful day back in 1951 was called Rocket 88, and it's monumental in two respects. First of all, it was a hit, it was one of the best-selling records of the year, and the money from this helped launch and fund Sam's record label, Sun Records. And the songs that were recorded and released through Sun Records by Elvis, Jerry Lee Lewis, Johnny Cash, and many more laid the foundation for rock and roll and everything that would come from that. I mean, take modern metal, for example, which sounds like a completely different thing than this early rockabilly, but you don't get modern metal without Black Sabbath and guys like Led Zeppelin. You don't get these guys without the Rolling Stones and the Beatles, and you don't get the Beatles and Rolling Stones without Sun Records. Whatever genre you play, we probably all share a common ancestor in what came out of here. And many would consider Rocket 88 to be the first rock and roll song, and part of that success stems from its uniqueness, its rawness, which comes from that broken guitar amplifier. And this is the other monumental shift that was born of a simple flat tire. We get the first mainstream recording of a purposefully distorted electric guitar. I'm not saying that this was the first distorted guitar ever. I mean, guitar players have been pushing the limits of their technology ever since the invention of it. And I mean, as early as the late 1940s, you can find examples of guitar players playing through an old amp like this one, turning it up as loud as it could go, which causes it to break up. Stuff that sounds like this. But here we have an amp that's turned up to keep up with the rest of the ensemble. Whereas with Rocket 88, we have an effect. It stands out. It doesn't sound like natural breakup, and the popularity of this record meant that other guitar players started to take note. Other musicians started doctoring their amps, trying to get them to do things that they weren't meant to do in an attempt to emulate Rocket 88. A few years later, in 1956, Paul Burleson of the Johnny Burnett Trio starts messing around with a vacuum vacuum tubes in his amp, and he comes up with this sound. And now, cat's out of the bag. A little while later, Link Wray pokes holes in a speaker cone with a pencil. He records the tune Rumble, and this song further cements that this new guitar sound is going to be the guitar sound. Then, in the early 60s, the pop singer Marty Robbins releases a tune with another take on the distorted guitar sound for Grady Martin's guitar solo. And what you heard there was the result of a faulty preamp on the recording board, but the world had kind of been primed to receive a sound like this at this point. And sure enough, the guitar player, Grady Martin, who discovered this specific sound, loved it so much that he ended up using that same faulty preamp to record another instrumental song with this tone, which he called The Fuzz. The surf band The Ventures loves this sound. They ask a friend to help them recreate it. The friend goes and creates a little box that has a circuit in it that creates this fuzz effect, and he names it the Fuzz Box and gives it to them for them to use on a record. These little devices start making the rounds among guitar players. Keith Richards of the Rolling Stones gets his hand on one, and he records this riff, which turns this into a musical phenomenon. And of course, it's not a simple, direct path. There are other examples of this sound popping up here and there, but after the massive success of Satisfaction, this is now a distortion pandemic. All the guitar players are chasing this sound. Fuzz boxes are selling out everywhere. We get Jimi Hendrix, Carlos Santana, Black Sabbath, Pink Floyd, Led Zeppelin, and from here, the distorted electric guitar will make its way into every corner of the musical globe. And this sound, at its core, is technically a mistake. It is a signal that's pushed beyond the point of what it's meant to do, and the circuit starts breaking up. But it became a defining feature of electric guitar. It is intrinsically linked into rock and roll and all of its musical tributaries. So the next time you hear that bellowing sound of a fuzzed out guitar, or you're cranking up the gain on your amp, or you're shopping for that new distortion pedal, remember, this can all be traced back to a flat tire, Highway 61, somewhere between Mississippi and Memphis in 1951. Ladies and gentlemen, there you have it. That is how a little innocuous car accident changed the shape of music. And remember, if you're interested in learning some of these early rock and roll licks, which make up the foundation of so much of what we play on electric guitar, you can check out my course, Samurai Guitar Theory, Blues and Rhythm Soloing Techniques, for only $7 using the link in the description. We got that Sammy G merch over at shopsamuraiguitarist.com. Picking up a t-shirt or something of the sort is a great way to support what I do here. Till next time, look after yourselves, look after each other, look after the planet. Try not to break your gear, but if you do, I guess the moral of the story is embrace it. I'm Samurai Guitarist. I'll see you again next time.